So it's no secret that trans content can be a bit negative. Oftentimes when people are searching for happy trans content, it can be hard to actually find happy trans content. That's what this video is about, the need for positive trans content and why I partake in it. So let's cut to the chase. A young preteen Lucy on the internet. Picture it. She's online a lot actually, because it's the only place she can see stuff about trans experience. And as a kid that figured it out a bit earlier, there wasn't much resources back then. So the internet was all I had. But the type of content that really stuck with me back then was the boy to girl makeup video, right? It'd be these really cute videos where someone would like do their makeup. There'd be a cute, catchy early 2000s song in the background. And when they got to the end, when they put on the wig with the makeup and they smiled so brightly, ooh, that's euphoria. That felt good. I thought, maybe I could do this trans thing. They just look so happy when they get to the end of the makeup part. And hey, that's how it goes. But after that, once I got through all those kind of videos, I started searching trans-related lingo. When you search transgender into YouTube, the results you get can be a bit mixed. Sometimes they can be negative, sometimes they can be positive. However, there was a narrative, especially back then, that was really rough, right? A lot of videos you would see about being trans would always be the story of tragedy. It'd always be the tragedy of a young kid trapped in the body of a man. Can she escape and be herself? Now granted, that narrative does resonate with some people, sometimes it doesn't. However, if that's the only kind of video you could see back then, it's very easy to assume that all trans people are miserable and trapped in a body that they don't like. However, being trans is a bit more complicated than that. Truth is, a lot of videos really paint the picture that we're all just really miserable. And I don't think that's entirely true. Sure, transition's hard. I won't act like it's not. Transition has lots of difficult moments, social things to overcome, sometimes really difficult medical decisions, that kind of thing. Confronting stuff, no matter what age you start. But if we paint the picture that we're only miserable and dysphoric to the end of time, then what does that paint about us? What kind of picture does that paint? For people searching up trans stuff, maybe people won't want to accept being trans because maybe they think that we're all just miserable. That's why we need happy trans content. Now, the ball is in the court of a lot of people that are making videos lately. Trans content is on the up, people. The views are up. Around January, a bunch of trans channels just launched into the stratosphere. We have so many new faces in the scene. And a lot of videos that come out can be a bit negative. From dunking on the transphobes to current event discussion. I'm not going to act like I am unaware of those things. Me not talking about those things don't make those things not exist. Weird sentence, but we're running with it. Thing is, I am aware of the bad things that happen. And yes, dear viewer that sometimes types into my streams asking me to talk about it, I will not. Politely, I don't think that's what my channel's goal is. And that's fine. There are channels that do that and they do it really well. However, we need a balance, I think. There needs to be videos that are positive and negative. We can't have one without the other. Otherwise, we end up in a bit of a bad situation. So, truth is, trans content can be extremely negative, soul-crushing even. Sometimes you go and watch a trans video and then by the end of it, you just feel kind of sad. And sadness is a necessary emotion. Sometimes it's a complicated but necessary emotion. I won't act like I am above that. I'm not. I've seen plenty of videos that make me upset. That's just how it goes, right? Being trans isn't easy. Never is. However, for people that want to just enjoy a fun little video of trans people in it, options can feel a bit slim. Options are either content creators that do other topics but happen to be trans, or really positive trans affirmation type content. And all that kind of stuff is important. It's just important to have all types of videos out there. This isn't a call to arms to change content on trans spaces completely. That'd be ridiculous. No, instead, I want to encourage more positive content to be thrown in the mix, you know? Because transition isn't fully dependent on your dysphoria. Transition is also about euphoria. You know, the opposite. The emotion that makes you feel good, right? I had moments where I got to wear girls' clothes for the first time and I felt so much joy I could nearly cry. And I think that aspect of transition is not talked about enough. I have kind of tried to make the kind of positive trans content I wish I had at the time. That's always been the goal of the channel. And I'm going to keep doing that. Even though I'd get more views if I like reacted to memes or dunked on a transphobe on Twitter. But what would that solve ultimately? Why do we need to base our existence on owning the conservatives or whatever? Now, we should keep owning the conservatives or whatever. We shouldn't just stop doing that. But we should know that our transness is more than, well, the way we handle opposition. We have lives outside of being trans. Now, I know this is a channel talking purely about being trans. However, obviously, me and you, we all have lives outside of our trans identity. And that's fine. You know, it's kind of exhausting to make everything about you purely about being transgender. It's also not the healthiest. It's best to find balance. Now, don't get me wrong. I love that feeling of trans joy reading or watching or witnessing some kind of trans media and it's really happy. That kind of stuff, oh, that feels good. You know? But outside of that, I do other things. I like dancing, I like guitar, I like going to the beach and building sandcastles, that kind of thing, you know? It's about just being a human being. And it just happens we're a gender that's different than the one we're assigned at birth. That doesn't mean we have to be a sob story, a tragedy, a cautionary tale till the end of time. You don't have to be the spokesperson for all things left-wing politics, transgender rights, etc. However, you can participate in those things just fine. That's important. That's why we have rights, you know? But I think there's a lot of people out there that are transgender that definitely want to see videos about the happy parts of being trans. I mean, there's a lot of happy parts. I remember the first moments I wore girls' clothes and felt that bit of joy. You know, the first time I learnt makeup. First time I learned how to do my hair properly. The first time I went out with friends as a girl at the shops. That was pretty magical, actually. I almost want to make an entire video just about my experiences in shops and girls' clothes, but I've kind of done that. Because it's just a story I like telling. There's beauty in the moments where we overcome difficulty. That's a big part of being trans. Overcoming difficulty and finding positivity. Because, let's be real, there's a big sense of loss when we're trans. Whatever age you happen to have started transition, whatever age that is, it'll never feel young enough. Even if you transition when you're like literally a 4-year-old, you're still gonna think you should have transitioned earlier. That's just how it goes. We can't change the past, and it's easy to lament on that and let it be our tragedy, so to speak. But we don't need to be a living tragedy. Instead, that shining positivity that can come after a dark time, that can be really inspirational to other people, I think. And it's just important to remember that we're just people. And we've been through a lot. A lot of people have been through a lot, but trans experience can be a bit exhausting. And it can feel a bit consuming, especially early on. Early transition, you can almost feel like everything you do is purely based on transition, which is super fair. There's a lot to do. I won't act like there isn't. But there is that moment where, almost like a bird that learns to fly, you can just kind of go out in the world. you know? And that's a really big, impactful moment, you know? So how does trans content come into all this? Well, I think when people try to find trans content, the algorithm will obviously prioritize whatever creates conflict. That's the nature of algorithms in general, right? They're going to prioritize videos that prompt heated discussion. However, just know you don't have to debate people till the end of time to exist. Instead, show them how happy we can be. That's an angle. Not the purely only angle that will work, but it's an angle. And I think a lot of cis people that don't know much about trans people, when they just see trans people be happy, I think that's impactful to them. Because to cis people, they only see like the tragedy story, trapped in the body, or complicated surgical procedures, or complicated tear jerking moments. I think when we focus only on that, it removes the human aspect of a trans person. A trans person is multifaceted. They're just a person. They happen to be trans. Transgender is an adjective, you know? Transgender woman, transgender man, you know, that kind of thing. It's just an adjective. Just like someone being funny or smart, you know, it's just a small part of ourselves, you know? And when you see trans content and people just having a good time, that's impactful. I tried doing a lot of like tutorial type content that's like uplifting and just gives you the tips of doing transition smoothly, and I'm very proud of those videos. I just think it's nice to feel like I can make someone else's transition a bit easier than mine. I think that positivity helped me heal from the negativity, you know? I transitioned in the 2010s. Wasn't the best time to do it, but it wasn't the worst time either. You know, I'm somewhere in the middle. 2010s was a big moment where trans acceptance was like on the rise. I was just in the part where there was a lot of growing pains of the whole thing. People were kind of busy going yay the gays at the time, you know? But, you know, they're catching up. And as transgender rights improve, it's going to be easier than ever for some people to transition. And I know we can feel a bit closed in the nature of people doing silly policy to prevent us from being us, and the world being so diverse and different that we can't make a blanket statement of whether it's easier or harder nowadays. But thing is, with more access to information, more people are going to be themselves, whether it requires pushing and shoving or not, you know? And as more cis people see trans people just exist and just be happy, I think that opens a perspective, you know? When we hear about a minority in any description, we only see them in media at their worst or vulnerable. We don't see them when they're just existing, right? We just don't have that compartmentalized in our head, right? So a lot of trans content I really like doing is like, you know, positive little tips to help with transition. Transition isn't easy, but we can help people in a gentle way. Sure, I'll share stories of parts that went wrong, like my wig falling off in a bathroom. That's pretty horrific. But I share it in a way I'm comfortable sharing. And for me, that's to explain it in a humorous way. I've had some comments not like that I do that. Some do. Just know that's how I like to approach difficult moments for me. That's why I'm always giggling, even in videos where I'm talking about something a bit complicated, right? And that's fine, I think, as long as like that's understood. The important thing is to have videos that inspire hope, videos that encourage positivity, right? I mean, I think the voice tutorials I've done have been so well received because they're uplifting. So intentionally so, the voice tutorials are intended to be silly, to break down the barrier, so to speak, of getting into voice training. Because voice training is very intimidating, right? Many aspects of transition are held behind this wall of intimidation. It feels like this really scary thing. And voice training especially is a bit disheartening. There's moments where you're voice training and just nothing's working. It can feel disheartening because your voice is a way, in a sense, a part of your body. And when your voice doesn't match how you identify, that can be some real heavy dysphoria. Especially because the voice is something we fully have control over. So that can make us feel all sorts of emotions. However, I've gotten a lot of comments saying that people really like how silly the voice tutorials are because the little voice techniques you do to practice seem comparatively less silly than the video they're in. Right? Making silly sounds to achieve the voice you want, right? I think that's a really important thing, right? Just having a digestible but a bit silly resource to transition with. And I've been really proud of those. And I'm definitely going to do more. I'm excited. Our next voice tutorial is scripted, for those curious. I have to film it at some point. That's going to be a bit of a gauntlet, but hey, I like my job. But the point is, trans content can be very diverse, just like the trans community itself. And there's no one way to do it, right? I think a way some creators have attempted to make positive trans content has been Reddit meme reactions, right? And while I personally don't want to do meme reactions, just a personal thing, I think it has been an angle that has helped alleviate and create some positive trans content. Depends on the meme that's being reacted to, obviously, but I think those have been an interesting step, and I'm curious to see how that kind of content will move forward, as it's become very popular. Whenever I open my YouTube studio, which is the thing that tells you your analytics, it has a big thing saying videos like this do well, you should make these. And all of them is the meme reaction videos. Politely, I don't want to be a react channel. That's just a personal boundary. I don't know what I would do. Like I'd like have the meme there and I'll just be like, yeah, relatable. I just don't think I can add much to them. But I think we're in some kind of weird, not golden age, that'd be ridiculous, but I think trans content is changing on the internet. It's changed quite a lot recently. I think in the 2010s, most trans content was like, HRT month 1, here's my vlog. HRT month 2, here's my vlog. And those are really interesting, by the way. Don't get me wrong. If I started content earlier in my transition, I definitely would have made those, right? Those videos are kind of uplifting in a way. So like, I quite like those. Those are really helpful, I think. I know that when I do the whole fancy bottom surgery thing, I'm gonna vlog that experience and hopefully make it uplifting, but not hide away from the tricky parts. And that's the key thing. Making content that's positive, but doesn't shy away from the tricky parts. We're not going to pretend everything's happy. That would fall under toxic positivity, which is just as bad as toxic negativity. So, you know, acting like everything's purely sunshine is probably just as bad as content that is purely about dunking on transphobes on Twitter. Now, I personally do not want to dunk transphobes on Twitter. I have better uses of my time, you know? That's just me. But those moments where you revisit places you once were, but instead of feeling disassociated, depressed, you feel like you've spread your wings and you get to be the kind of person you always wanted to be. It's beautiful. Being trans is beautiful. Even if the internet makes it seem like it's not. It's a beautiful thing to overcome a negative experience but blossom out of it as a butterfly in a way. That's why I think trans people like butterflies. Bit of a nice analogy. Because when you're in a cocoon, from what I've been told, it kind of hurts. It's not the most pleasant experience. It's a dark tunnel, so to speak. But eventually you get out of the tunnel. And that's the key thing here. I think back to the kind of person I was being some nervous kid, looking at these videos about trans people and being scared. Could I Be as brave as them? The answer was yes. More than I could have ever anticipated. Even if you don't feel brave right now, that's because you haven't had a chance to spread your wings yet. And you don't really figure out how to fly unless you try. You know? Unintentional rhyme. Does it even rhyme? Anyway. Point is, being trans at that time was isolating. It was scary. I didn't know if I could be like the people in the video in front of me, you know? And maybe you're feeling the same way. And I remember commenting on every video that I saw and asking the craziest questions. Questions about anything. How to use wigs, how to use makeup, that kind of thing. You used to be able to DM YouTubers. I don't know why this is a feature, but you used to be able to private message YouTubers, and I would private message like every trans creator that I could find and ask them, how do I transition? It was a time of vulnerability, but you know, some of them did reply to me, and their replies did help. But I'm hoping that a video like this could help more than that ever could. Chances are, if you're watching this, maybe you're early in transition, maybe you're really far in transition, just know that everything is going to be okay. There'll be hard parts, of course. There's always hard parts. But there's still the moment you get to blossom and be a wonderful flower. And it'll work out. But if you have questions about transition, you're always welcome to ask them on videos. I try to answer what I can. There are a lot of comments nowadays, but I think back to the nervous, like 8-year-old or whatever. I was watching all these videos, and it's really, I really wish I could go back in time, give that 8-year-old a hug, and help her out through transition, right? It's just something I can't do. I can't change the past, can't change who I was. All I can do is approach who I am. And if these videos help other trans people not have to experience a similar pain as I once did, then I'll be satisfied. Even if the algorithm doesn't like it. That's how I'm going to approach content. Positivity, helping trans people. That's why I do this in the first place. And if I help even a couple of people feel the courage to transition and start life the way they want to, I'll be pretty happy. Whatever stage of life you're at, I just want you to know you do deserve to transition if you want to. And even if things are hard right now, it'll get better. Okay? And I know I'm just a trans girl on a computer screen or phone screen or Nintendo Switch screen or whatever. Either way, just know that there are just, like me and other people, it's just real trans people just living life. And I hope positive content helps illustrate that. I have a really old video where I vlogged one of my like vacations. And I remember some of the comments on that was like, oh, it was really nice just seeing a trans person enjoy themselves. That stuck with me. I don't know. So I'll keep doing my best to make enlightening, trans, happy, positive content. A Lucy video must be a warm blanket. That's what I tell myself. So if you like this video, well, I have news for you. We make trans content every week. Every week, same time, same channel. We got trans related videos. I'll be here in front of this trans flag, and I will be talking about something transition related. That's just how we roll here on the Fairy Princess Lucy channel. I'll just try to cover every part of transition I can, and I'll do my best. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you would like to not miss those videos. There is a bell icon too. Just a suggestion. And commenting is really important too. I actually really like reading comments. It's kind of the favorite, best part. It's really important to see your impact, I think. Because seeing a number go up is cool and validating, but it's hard to quantify like the impact you make. And I hope it's a big positive impact. I try my best. Well, I'm bad at ending videos, so let's end it there. Stay hydrated and know that you are valid. She said the thing.